morning. Thank you to everyone for your participation in the Sandbox and for being our customers. Without you, we're not here. So thank you. I wanted to start off with a quick story, just to warn you of what could happen at these events. As Richard will attest, there's been a couple times where we've done these types of things where I've been sitting next to Richard with a PowerPoint and noticed on his computer that his battery was running low. So to help him, I pulled it out and shut down the PowerPoint. So that could happen. I don't know what's going to happen today, but if it does, we're just going to roll with it. The first thing I want to do is, if you are at a table with less than 5 people, would you move and condense to a table that's short? We want to have, our goal is to have 6 to 8 at each. Does everyone have 5? Maybe you folks in the corner. And then all the other tables are okay. Second question, by show of hands, who is an event organizer? You're a contractor, Richard. Is there any table that doesn't have event organizers at it? Looks like everybody does. Okay, good. What we're going to do today is have a workshop. Yesterday, several people made the comment to us that they wish they had more time to talk amongst their group to work through some of the topics we discussed. So today, you are going to have that opportunity. What we're going to do is present 3 different topics. One is value proposition. The other is acquisition, retention, and growth. And the third is attendee engagement. And what we're going to task you with is to address some of the specific topics for each of these, and then take that information and post it on the boards behind you, and then we're going to go through and recap everything on there. At the end of the Sandbox, all that information will be taken, noted, and sent to you so you can use it. So we're going to start this morning off with Rich Anderson's going to lead our value proposition section of this meeting, and then after that I'm going to take the acquisition, retention, growth, and the attendee engagement, each one about 15 to 20 minutes. So with that, Rich.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So from 2 different sources, from 2 different surveys, we found that all of these topics were important. But one of the things that we found out was that people were concerned about creating a proper value prop and also about communicating a value prop. Now, one of the things that we discovered yesterday during our sponsorship panel is that when it all comes right down to it, it's all about sales and having a good sales strategy. And a good sales strategy begins with having a value prop. Now, while that may seem simple, it really takes some good thought. So what is a value proposition? Simply put, it is what's uniquely valuable. And those are the 2 most important words in a value prop. What's unique about your offering, and the offering can refer to a sponsorship component, a sponsorship program, or the entire event overall. Everything needs a value proposition. So a value prop is a collection of the most compelling reasons for people to buy or sign up to your product or service. And in everyday life, these 6 are some of the things that you see most often from advertisers and places where you shop. People have the greatest expertise, maybe it's lowest prices, fastest delivery. Some people claim to have the best customer service, or the largest selection, or the best quality. So what's your value prop? Well, it would be really difficult for you to work on your own value props in a group with a lot of different people who don't know your program. So here's what we're going to do. At the risk of being slightly self-serving, since you all have a shared experience, which is known as the Sandbox, we're going to ask you all to create a value proposition for the sandbox. So each table is going to own the sandbox for next year, and you're in charge of selling, promoting the sandbox. So what I'd like you to do is, using the Post-its and the Sharpies that you have, is the first thing to do is to capture in brainstorming style session what's unique and what's valuable. And we're going to take 15 minutes for the exercise, so plan your time out accordingly. Because at the end, what I want you to also have is a value proposition statement. So a single statement that serves as your value prop. It could be 2 sentences if you want, but you want to have something that's compelling and would cause someone at the very least to read it, hear it, and want to know more. So again, brainstorm what's valuable, what's unique, and then put together a statement. Now here's just a couple of examples of weak and strong value props. So a weak one would be, we sell insurance. A stronger would be, we help families and individuals protect their most important assets. Weak, we are the leading provider of multimedia advertising services. Just a statement of fact. Stronger way to say it would be, we help businesses improve their bottom line. We sell shoes and athletic gear. Pretty obvious. But what about, we bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world? And that comes from Nike. Their mission statement is, if you have a body, you are an athlete. Just do it. So what I'd like you to do is start capturing. We'll give you a 5-minute warning. And as soon as you're finished capturing all of your uniques and, pardon me? Thank you. Your valuables, so what's valuable and what's unique, go ahead and put them on the value proposition board that's in the back of the room, and then also work on your statement. And you can use as many Post-its as you need for the statement, and then we'll get the statement posted. And your time begins now. Okay, everyone. All right, what I'd like to do now is we're going to do a quick report out. So I would like to please make sure that you get the statement up on the board on a Post-it, but I can just go table to table. Do you all have it also at your, you don't? Okay, so you're up there, that's fine. I'll go up there and read it. You guys have yours here? It's up there? All right, I'm going to the board. Okay, here we go. All right, so we have from table number 1, their value proposition is, the sandbox offers an intimate environment that provides the unique opportunity to foster long-lasting industry relationships and expand your educational resources. And by the way, table 1 says that they rock. That's good.
They may rock, but that's how we roll.
Okay, next one I have is fostering and cultivating relationships, industry-specific, educational content, or these are just a list of, okay, statement. We provide an affordable and educational opportunity to collaborate with colleagues in an energetic environment. Does that sound about good? Does that sound right? Sandbox is an intimate opportunity in an open and trusting environment to share best practices, gain knowledge, and learn from, thank you, a variety of diverse experiences. Good. Sandbox, information, interaction, inspiration, hashtag be there. Okay, we have another one, Shepard community coming together for inspiration, innovation, and collaboration.
It's really the only one you need to read.
Oh, I was just informed that table 5 is the only one we really need to read. The Sandbox provides a networking avenue for building lasting relationships where we share ideas, successes, failures, and experiences from a variety of arenas. Thank. Next one, intimate gathering of like-minded peers to improve and enhance experience for all stakeholders in and with our events. Very good. At the Sandbox, you will benefit from a unique networking opportunity with peers from similar backgrounds and experiences in a relaxed, face-to-face setting. Are there any that I've missed? That was good. I think we got a really good variety of statements
We got
there.
one more.
Oh,
Late
wait,
entry.
one more. Okay.
Late entry.
Late entry. Okay, bringing together sophisticated, okay, we have to stop there. Bringing together sophisticated industry minds for a valuable educational experience with dynamic networking opportunities. Hashtag Sandbox2014. Well, as Melissa's already pointed out, you guys have taken care of my marketing for next year for the Sandbox, so thank you very much. Did you guys, was that valuable? A good exercise? So again, you know, don't make creating value propositions complex. What's unique and what's valuable. And to understand what's valuable, you really have to make sure that you have a good understanding of all of your constituents. So these are your attendees, your exhibitors, your sponsor exhibitors. You have to do the work, have to do the due diligence, and make sure that you understand what is valuable to them. And part of that gets into understanding, especially from the sponsorship side, what are their business objectives? What makes it valuable in helping them to achieve their own objectives? Cool. Thank you all very much. Kevin is up next.
Thank you, Rich. So when everyone goes back now, you can write a value proposition. Thank you, sir. I want to borrow this for a minute. So moving on, we want to talk about attendee engagement. Before I do so, I wanted to mention, does anyone know Hope Hennessy outside of Shepard here? Okay, so you know how funny this woman is. But Rich is fairly new at the company, and his office, if you take those whiteboards back there, put them together, and then put them all around his room, that's what Rich's office looks like. So when I first walked in, I asked him how he thinks, and he said he's a non-lineal thinker. And Hope walked in and said if his Post-its weren't in a neat order, she would have thought he was a serial killer, because all over the place, they're just random Post-its. So, but I love it. Thank you, Rich. So when we talk about engagement, we get all these industry keywords. And engagement is one of those words that I think has a lot of definitions. For example, Debbie and Bruce from West Coast Art and Frame recently got engaged. So I wanted to start off by asking you, what does engagement mean to you? With a microphone, just so Bruce has good expectations going into this thing. Yeah?
Engagement. Can you hear this? I guess engagement, I'm going to focus on attendee engagement. It means getting your attendee to buy into your event and getting them committed to a long-term relationship with your company.
Perfect. That's almost I went backwards, sorry. That's almost exactly how I described it, Debbie. It's a person that is fully involved in and enthusiastic about the involvement with the event in a way that furthers the interests of the organization. So, perfect. That's how we're defining attendee engagement. Yes. So what we want to accomplish in this meeting is to come up with ways as to how you can engage your attendees and also your exhibitors. How do you get them intimately involved with your organization that furthers it? So again, we're going to go through the same process, about 15 minutes, write down all the ways that you can think of. We're going to put it on the board and then recap it. And Rich and I will be walking around to help you with any questions you have. Oh, I got you. I like this. Okay. All right. So now they've defined how we're going to give people a voice through planning committees, by presenting top topics for that industry, through exhibitor meetings, through surveys, through evaluations, with vendor and attendee joint presentations, and social media. That's beautiful. Who did that? Great job. That's beautiful. So some very specific ideas there and how it all works. Some others following right along. First timers event. I bet many of you went through the first timers event that Richard put together for IAEE, and it was a huge success for us, huge success. So if you haven't never tried a first timers event with your organization, look at it. It's pretty easy to put it together, and it's a good way to bring new attendees in. Make sure your relevancy of content fits your audience. The final mile activity. Richard, what did you mean by that? Or your table?
What we talked about was the engagement. I didn't say this, just for the record. Our group of organizers said that as organizers, we're not committed to the final day, so why do we expect our audience to be? So that's why people leave the meetings early. That's why exhibitors will start packing up early.
Great point.
Because it's, Andrea will tell you as a marathoner, you get to that final, I think you call it what, Andrea, final burn or something. It's like the last mile. It's like create engagement opportunities all the way to the end.
Okay. Richard, same thing from your table. By an alumni program, what did you folks mean as to how that will engage the attendees? I assume it's to bring them back.
Well, one of the things that David asked for was, he said that he thought that it was fantastic that we're going to keep the app open until next Sandbox, and he and Mike, he and Mike were talking about the fact that during this meeting they've been using the contact information instead of their contact information, and they want to be able to go in and reference materials from this meeting. But then they said if there's a reason why they couldn't come next year, they want to connect into the app as an alumni to be able to get information from the meeting. So this is part of the year-round connectivity, but not just thinking about a one-year cycle, but once you become a sandboxer, you're a sandboxer for life.
Also,
I like it.
the technology community does really, really well on their proprietary conferences with alumni programs. There's special perks for different levels of alumni. There could be discounts, there could be additional information, different benefits when you're on site, just a lot of different things that they get. Some recognition, which is important to a lot of people, as we learned from Monica yesterday. But an alumni program could have a tremendous amount of value.
Thank you. Table 10. Where's table 10? Okay. Rich, if you'll bring the microphone up to those folks. Okay, you've got one there. I like this idea you have here, and I wondered if you could just elaborate on how you got to this. But networking lounges and networking function space. What exactly, when you folks were talking about that, what did you have in mind?
Just in general, making sure that we're giving attendees the opportunity to network with one another. We were saying one of the things we always hear is, I didn't have enough time. I didn't have enough time to network or to talk to people. Giving them the opportunity to have that time, not just maybe on the trade show floor, but social events or networking events, creating lounges where they can just sit and meet and, exchange contact information. But I know I find, and I think we discussed that that's really important for most people attending some sort of event. They want to make the contacts that will keep them coming back year after year.
Beautiful. All right, this one I'm going to read because I should have asked you folks to put your table number on here, but okay, this is yours, Lauren? No, I can read it. I just wanted to make sure you had a mic or someone from your group. Could you elaborate on the statement you had put here, enhancing peer-to-peer breakouts and making them more engagement for specific groups, which I love. I mean, you're taking people that have similar interests, and I'll give you an example of this. Tracy, I had met the first night at dinner, and she is with the Retail Lumber Association of the Northeast. Am I saying that correctly, Tracy? Okay. And her specific problem is that her demographic is fighting the Home Depots of the world, and they're retailers in the lumber business, and as you all know, Lowe's and Home Depot are swallowing them. And we have, that I know of, several other groups that are in the same boat. We have West Coast Art and Frame that's struggling with the mom and pop frame shops and art shops that are around the country. And then Judy Patterson with Vacuum Dealer Trade Association. Her organization represents all these small vacuum shops. So what I did was try to put the three of them together for a little while and at least make an introduction. That way, if they're struggling with an idea for their show, they can help each other. Is that where you were going with this, or did you have a different take on it?
Right. Well, we were talking about roundtables, and sometimes I think we all do roundtables, but if you don't have the right facilitator, people will come in and they may talk a little bit and then it gets stale. So having the right person at the right table to engage them and giving the person that's going to engage them, the facilitator, the right content to bring to the table, but also knowing your audience in advance and surveying and asking questions like we did before we got to the Sandbox this year. When we find a group that has a problem, just like what you did, bringing them together and making it more specific and helping facilitate that conversation. So instead of just these broad topics that we all throw out there, medical meetings, pharma guidelines. Well, really, what's the problem with the pharma guidelines? So honing in on that, putting the right people together.
I love it. Okay, good. Now this particular section here, I know this was Camille's table because it's very organized, and I thought she was a teacher there for a minute. But Camille, one thing that's catching my eye right off the bat with your group, you had put that it's important to offer hands-on experiences, which, I mean, totally hits the attendee engagement. Did you have any specific things that you guys talked about as to how you can get their hands on different items at the event?
Two of the planners at our table offer hands-on experience by the exhibitors on the floor. One has the opportunity to test out lawnmower equipment and drive it around and touch it and feel it before you buy it. And from the Archery Association, they have shooting lanes, so they're actually able to test out the equipment before. So that kind of hands-on experience, maybe learning about it in an education session, then coming onto the exhibit floor and actually touching and feeling what you've learned about.
I love it. If any of you are from big organizations that have HR departments, be careful with that one. If you're throwing it out there, the hands-on experience, that might be interpreted the wrong way. Okay, educate. What table did this one come from? Leslie? Okay. 5. Okay, table 5. Create VIP areas on the show floor for certain attendees. What type of attendees are you thinking?
So they create lounges, which they call dealer lounges, who are all the attendees who come in for the show. And only dealers can go into the lounges. So not exhibitors, not anybody else, but the dealers can go into the lounges and business hubs and things like that. So it's specific to the attendee only, not the exhibitor or anybody else. And it was a big draw.
Our goal is always to make the attendee feel that we want them there, that they're special, that this show is for them. One of our taglines last year was the ATA trade show is a trade show built for dealers. So we do special things that are just exclusive to them.
I love it. Which table are the blue tabs here? That's Debbie's table? Okay. Bars. There's, one of the ways to engage attendees is through bars. And what's that?
It's good to know.
They put what? Oh, free food, yeah. So bars and free food. But, we joke about it, but what event have you been to that doesn't encourage an open bar and or a cash bar? It's a great way to loosen people up. Okay, good point. The Church Benefits Association. They may not. Right. So maybe across the way, but unless they're, good point. Unless they are Catholic, and then, yes. Or the Boy Scouts. But specifically, was there anything unique about that bar experience? Is it that it was VIP for a certain group, or
No, that there were 5 bars on the show floor that are all sponsored.
Okay.
And also the other thing with that is that they keep all their attendees in one venue. So and on the show floor. So they eat on the show floor, they drink on the show floor, they stay on the show floor.
Okay. Beautiful. Are there any tables that I've missed that wants to add some input right here?
For A to Z.
Yes.
And I think he left, so anyway, can somebody let him know that I did? Anyway, we use A to Z now for our conference site, our mobile app, and stuff like that. And it actually keeps, because we keep it open all year, it keeps attendees engaged after the conference and also membership too. So, I mean, that's one way to keep people engaged is because they go on and they visit the exhibitors that they had visited because they can't remember their name or things like that. It brings them back into the session. The people who didn't attend conference still can get on to our conference site. They just can't download handouts and stuff like that, but allows them to see who exhibited and, they may be looking for a specific company. So that not only keeps attendees engaged, it keeps your whole membership engaged too. So.
Leaving your exhibitor directory up after the event is great for search engine optimization. There are a lot of benefits other than just content.
Yes. Well, you're the second person that I've heard today say that. Rich, someone was giving you the idea for our sandbox, possibly for next year, to provide the content after the event or to those folks that can't make it if they've been an alum.
Right, which we are still going to do in the form of an alert on your current app. We will be providing some of the content via an alert and a link.
Okay, great. Lauren had just mentioned that she's seen great success with speed dating opportunities at events. Some people refer to that as a hosted buyer conference. You could incorporate that into your event. You could still have your trade show, but if someone wants the opportunity to host an attendee, maybe you could fly them in, and in exchange, they get a certain amount of time with certain vendors that contributed to the ability to bring those people into the event. So we're going to wrap up the attendee engagement section of this and move on to our next topic. Has anyone had any trouble acquiring new attendees or exhibitors at their event? Yeah, well, we just got through, and hopefully we're past a huge recession. And over that time, and as Richard said when he introduced us earlier, one of the roles that I have at the company is to help our salespeople understand the problems of associations. This is probably the number one thing I hear is finding ways to acquire new members, to get them to your event, and to keep them there and spend more money. So I think this one's going to be very relevant to all of you. But what we'd like you to do in this particular session, we're going to break the room up into 3 different segments. So tables 2, 8, and 1, I'd like you guys to focus on acquisition. And then this middle bank, which is 9, 3, 4, and 10, retention. I'm sorry, 4, 5, and 6. You guys do retention. And then this 3 in here, you guys do growth. Okay? And what we'd like you to do is, again, same thing. The questions, and please get very specific. We want to know specifically, how can you acquire? How can you retain? How can you grow?
Can you define the difference between acquisition and growth?
Define the difference. Thank you. Okay. The question came up, define the difference between acquisition, retention, and growth. Acquisition. I've actually got it on the board for you to look at. Attracting new exhibitors and attendees. That's acquisition. Retention. Keeping the attendee and exhibitor base you already have. And growth, increasing the investment and the share of their spend or wallet. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about and report on is acquisition. I'm going to start off right off the bat because this is very sales oriented, but one of the points that this group had put on here was to ask your exhibitors for insight into who they want at the meeting. You want to talk about that a little further? Is there something specific at your event that you do, and which exhibitors do you ask? Let's go with you, Rob. We haven't heard from you today.
I've had 3 cups of coffee. I don't know. It's not working today. We ask the exhibitors basically to help us market the show. Because if it's just coming from us, it's not necessarily believable because we're the promoter. And so we ask the exhibitors, without us necessarily asking them, we're sending them stuff and say, market, bring your customers to the show. I know there was some in another industry that was not successful is because they didn't engage the exhibitors to help them. The exhibitors came back and said, isn't that your job? You know, so marketing's a group effort. And
yes.
So it's a great topic that you bring up in the acquisition part is team, that we need to work in our team. Most of us are in cottage industries, and we need to work together to retain our industry so that our stores or whatever have to stay in business.
That's a great point. Especially for associations, a lot of you folks don't have a marketing arm to your group. So if you can reach out to some of your key exhibitors that do and ask them to help you generate interest in the show and get them there, it's only going to benefit your show. So that's terrific. Great point. Table number 5. Where's 5? So you guys were retention, correct? Okay, so retention. We're on to the retention topic. Provide must-have content. What do you mean by that? What is it that you're trying to accomplish by having, well, let me ask you a different question. How do you develop must-have content?
Well, basically, it's knowing your audience and knowing what the hot topics are for that industry or that we deal a lot with government also.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's making sure that you have the most current information for them and that it's presented from experts of the field and not just a paid speaker or whatever. You
nailed it. Yeah, the best way to develop content is to know your attendee, know your exhibitors, know your industry, and ask them what is crucial to them for their success, and then develop content around it. So I love it. That's a great way to develop information for your event. Table number 4, and you were growth, correct? You were also retention, okay. I'm curious, what is the big FU? I think there's other great ideas on there, but that I have to know.
The big FU. I teach this in the college, too. And I tell them, and I put the big FU on the board, and I say, this is the most important part of your job. Any job that you're ever going to have is you've got to follow up.
And follow up meaning,
Well,
what are you going to follow up with them about?
well, we were talking about following up with the exhibitors after the show and getting their feedback on to have their retention. What do they need from us?
Okay.
What do they need from us, and where do you need your show placement? Where do you need your exhibit placement? What do you need from us for the attendee? And basically, it's a follow-up in the way of either a breakfast for them at the end of the show, getting some feedback from them from that show immediately. It could be follow-up via email, phone call, survey,
Yes.
and sometimes you need to do it all.
Yes. And probably as importantly, after you get that feedback, is to act on it the following year. You know, if you get feedback, and especially if you see it from multiple points of view and groups, make sure that you do something about it. Otherwise, the feedback doesn't benefit you. Table 10 is right here, and you were growth. Okay, good. We're on to growth. Video testimonials to help broadcast benefits and that are posted to a website. You wanna, oh, yeah, of course. We have our app guy.
Well, shucks. We were talking about just basically creating more value for what was going on. And by having those exhibitors that are able to, either first time or whatever, are able to show what value they perceive from it and then go and share that with other folks. So by having those testimonials, you're able to show everybody else who are at different sponsorship levels. This is, by bundling. We talk a lot about bundling in there as well, but that showing value and getting the word out about the value and how much more you get from the bundle.
Not the 5 minutes of aisle shots and the venue, because that as an attendee or an exhibitor is boring. Think about a TV ad. Those first 30 seconds have to capture your imagination, and that is exactly the same with video, testimonials or whatever. It should be short and engaging and interesting. If it keeps your attention, it'll keep everyone else's attention.
Yeah.
Usually people will, at the very end, and it wasn't planned this way, would say, and it's fun. And she was like, we couldn't even plan it any better, but they just always ended, and it's fun. So yeah, short and exciting.
And table number 3 also is growth. Kurt, you wound up at the growth table, and yesterday a lot of your sales and marketing had to do with discussing growth. Something you mentioned yesterday, and you also have it up here, is one of my favorites right now. It's customizing sponsorship and exhibit opportunities to those members that they want. So rather than go to them with a specific sponsorship, like a banner, you go to them and say, what would you like to do? They tell you what they want to do, and then you set a price for it and negotiate it from there. So if that's not something you're doing right now, is people want to do things that they want. And I know Richard made the point yesterday, you don't see Shepard advertising in magazines all over the place because we take our money and we do things like this rather than just put a name out there. So the other thing that you put in here for growth, and I just want to mention it, this is still table 3, analyze expenses to find areas of cost savings. So if you could talk about how that helps your organization grow.
Well, I think you always have to look at the show holistically, and when you do that, the bottom line net revenue is ultimately how you determine the success or failure of the show. And so top line growth is always important, and you want to continue to focus on that, but managing expenses and finding creative ways to offset those expenses, to me, is low-hanging fruit. And it's an area that you want to to attack first because you have the most control over that, as opposed to going out and trying to increase top-line revenues.
Terrific. Thank you, Kurt. Table 9, also growth. You had put on here to generate more revenue to do live web streaming. Did someone specifically do that from your group already? Is that something you could speak to, the ease of doing it, the cost of doing it, and the type of revenue you generated from it?
Yes. So we, and some people are really leery about doing live web streaming because they think there's the old adage that they think people then won't attend the conference. But that's not true. And we don't live webcast our entire conference. So we pick certain sessions that we do it. The first year that we did it, we actually got support, or no, we charged our members and non-members for it, and we kind of broke even with it. The next year we got support, so whatever the expenses were, we just doubled it and we got support for it. And while people were at their homes or whatever, one of the benefits to the supporter was that they could watch a video of the product or whatever video they wanted to choose. But you have to be careful too, because we're ANCC accredited, so we couldn't, have sponsorship playing while the education was going. So anyway, and then this past year we did a combination of getting it supported and charging members for it. So we do $20 per 1 hour session because there's CE credit attached to it, and then $30 for non-members. But I think it's probably better to get it supported and then members see it as a benefit. So what it does is it captures the people who can't attend conference and know, no matter what they do, they're not going to be able to attend conference, but allows them to at least view sessions and earn some CEs for it. Yep.
I've seen streaming where it works really well, and I've seen it when it doesn't. And you do have to think that you can't just set up a camera for a same seminar and hope it'll work, because then it looks like an Al Jazeera video and it looks like the speakers on the stage are about to get shot. So, and no one wants to watch that for an extended period of time. So you really need to make sure that you work with your decorator or, with Shepard to make sure that it looks great for the camera and also for the audience.
Thank you. And just to stay on track today, I'm going to hit a couple things real quickly from tables 1 and 2 that talk about acquisition. Table 2, some specifics they listed. Prospecting other shows. Go visit other shows, attack lists from other shows, and do your research, face-to-face networking, hit vertical and horizontal markets, put introductory offers out there, and use social media. From table 1, look for current exhibitors and attendees who move to new companies to get them on board, the new company on board. Visit industry competitive shows, which was said. Create buying lists, industry publications, study those, take new and emerging exhibitors out of those industries to solicit. Create financial incentives. Diversify your education, promote first-time attendees. That's the second time we've seen that today, so that seems like a hot topic. And VIP guest passes, yes. Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Tracy.
We are on this crusade to get first-timers. We don't get a lot of first-timers. It's the same people over and over and over again. And one thing we did, we have regional directors. We have 4 regional directors who cover certain territories, and they're always visiting our dealers. And what we did after the last expo is we created what we call Expo in a Box. And on the cover, our art director made this really cute postcard-looking graphic with a montage of all these pictures from the expo, and it said, "Wish you were here." And inside the box, we solicited information from the exhibitors, and we put that in a binder. We had a letter from the chair of our committee inviting them and telling them why they should try the show, and we also had all our swag in there. And the regional directors would, when they visited the dealers who don't traditionally send people to the show, they'd bring them in this box to kind of show them what they missed and to get them thinking about attending the 2014 show. So we'll see how it turns out. We're going to try to track our first-timers and see what
It's a great idea.
feedback we
Something
get.
unique,
It was
different.
relatively inexpensive, and it was fun. And
Yeah.
people, if anything, people like to get stuff. And we had some regional director notes that were like, oh, they know they won't be able to come, but they were like, wow, cool, a mug,
Yeah.
And it's, it's on their desk somewhere, so they have the expo, they're advertising for us, so.
That's a great idea, Tracy. Well, next year, bring back to the Sandbox the results. Let us know how it did. And if you would, shoot Richard or I an email, and after you get the results, and we'll put a post on our site about it and share it on the Sandbox, our virtual Sandbox. We're going to take a 15-minute break.
10.
Sorry, Rich is cutting our time.
Well, out of respect for everyone's travel schedule, and we've got Doug coming up at 10:30, so we're just going to take a quick break. All the refreshments are still in the room.
One quick closing remark. You've probably seen, but if you look back here, these three things really tie together. So I want to make sure you see attendee engagement will help you retain. Attendee engagement will help you grow, and vice versa. The attendee engagement and the acquisition, retention, and growth helps create your value proposition. So when you look at this information post-show when we send it out, look at it and combine the three things to create the value proposition. So thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of your day.